Hi, everybody. This is Bob Gale, co-creator of Back to the Future, and you're listening to Brad Gilmore.
Doc! Okay, relax, Doc. It's me. It's Marty.
No, it can't be. Just sent you back to the future.
Yeah. Oh, I know you did send me back to the future, but I'm back. I'm back from the future.
Great Scott.
Wait a minute, Doc. Are you telling me that you built a time machine? Out of a DeLorean?
The way I see it, if you're gonna build a time machine into a car, why not do it with some style?
Whoa, this is heavy.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Back to the Future, the podcast, the only podcast looking back in time, the greatest film trilogy of all time, Back to the Future. I'm your friend of time, Brad Gilmore. I know it's been a little while. I've been sporadic. It happens. People who've listened to this show for 9 years? Jeez. They know I can be sporadic, but again, this is a show that I do out of love. I don't do it to profit off of it. I don't do it for any other reason than to just bring you all content when I can. And, the last couple of episodes have been kind of centered around what you could call my day job, where I get to interview a lot of cool people and talk to them about a variety of projects. I had the Cobra Kai guys on. John Cryer was on, who auditioned for the role of Marty McFly in Back to the Future. And today, this episode's no different. What I do, is I always try to find somebody who I can make that connection to. Like when you interview somebody, I'm sure there's people listening out here who have their own podcast or their own show or something where they interview. I always say, okay, say I'm interviewing Topher Grace, okay, which I have before. Okay, what is my angle on Topher? Like, what am I looking for? Like, what's our connection going to be? I know he's got the show. So I always think, okay, what are they promoting? Have I seen what they're promoting? If I can see it, let me see it first so I can talk to them more intimately about it. And then I think, okay, off of the regular show, where else can I go with them? What else can I do? Where can we take this thing? And I try to figure out, is there any point of reference that we'll both enjoy? And people know I like just a couple of things. Movies from the 80s, especially Back to the Future, and pro wrestling and hip hop. If I can find a way to weave that into a conversation, I will. And so recently I've had some guests who I know either one, they're Back to the Future fans, they are enthusiasts, they love it. Mikey Day when he was on here, the Cobra Kai guys, John Cryer, just to name a few. And this is no different. There's a director, Eli Roth, been an actor as well. He was in Inglourious Bastards. He's done a lot of great horror films. He had a new one called Thanksgiving, starring Nell. Everyone knows I love Nell from The Big Shot, and Addison Rae, who's a big TikTok star and things of that nature. And I remember he did a movie called House with a Clock in Its Walls. And when they were pulling up to the marquee, he was doing it for Amblin. When they're pulling up to the marquee, Spaceman from Pluto's up there. I immediately clock it, being a Back to the Future fan. And I thought, when I looked at my schedule and knew I was going to interview Eli Roth, I said, man, that would be a good thing to ask him. And when you do these press interviews, they're fun because you actually do get to talk to the people. And, everyone kind of knows what it is. We're talking about one project in particular, and mainly they're like 7 minutes. Sometimes they're 10, sometimes they're 15, sometimes they're 20. But normally, the publicists are always on you to finish the interview because they got to do. Eli, when I talked to him this morning, he probably did, I'm just guessing, but he probably did, at least 2 hours of interviews, 10 minutes each-ish, right? So whatever that boils down to, what is that, 12 interviews maybe? So he did the 12 interviews, and so I know I got to come up with something different. I wanted to talk to him about Back to the Future, but I remember as I'm doing this episode or this interview, I was running out of time because he's a great storyteller, great talker, has great answers to questions. And I almost ran out of time with him before I could ask the Back to the Future question, but I would have kicked myself if I didn't. So I'm going to play you Eli Roth. Now, before we play it, I do want to warn you all, for some reason, when I do these, I always export the main file so I have it unedited and clean. For some reason, I couldn't find the clean interview of this. I have it from my collection podcast, which if you haven't listened to my other show and you love like interviews of the day with some big names, let me tell you about the collection real quick. That's a show I really would hope y'all check out. I mean, a lot of the big names are in the intro to the show you'll hear, but recently Eli Roth, Remy Ma, Darren Aronofsky, AJ Styles, Andy McDowell, David Ayer, Josh Hutcherson, just to name a couple who've been on recently. Brad Meltzer, John Cryer. I mean, I've had some good ones recently. Where are the rest of them? Grayson Waller, Holt and Maura Tierney, Kel Mitchell, Dame Dash, Bill Engvall, Shawn Michaels, the Cobra Kai guys, Matthew Lillard, Adam Azes, Chris Tucker, Chumlee, Brett Baer, Tim Qualls, Ed Begley Jr., Sherry Shepard, Matthew McConaughey, Tiffany Thiessen, Trish Stratus, Jack Osborne, Jordan Johnson-Hines, Shane Belcourt, Bun B. I mean, it goes on, as you could tell. I forgot that I had some of these. So, definitely go check out the collection. I always have, like, I try to drop 2 or 3 a week. I'm trying to do over 100 interviews this year, and I've already done 15, I think, in January. I don't think I've done any in February yet, so 15 interviews in January, pretty good start. I think I'm going to hit my 100 goal. I've already got a few on the books coming up, but nevertheless, let me not bore you with details. I'm just going to shoot my shot here. I will always do Back to the Future, the podcast. Always. I think the only way I'll ever stop doing this show is if I can get Michael J. Fox, Tom Wilson, and Robert Zemeckis interviews. If I get those 3, I think I'm going to bring the show to a close, because how do you top that, right? How do you top it? We've had everyone else from the cast who I've wanted to talk to on here. Those are the 3 that elude me. Elizabeth Shue would be a good one, but it's not like a necessary. Like, I don't need it, but I would like it. I don't need it, but I would like it. So if I can get those 3, I think I'm going to put a bow on this thing. We're on season 10, and I'm still working I'm telling you, I try all the time to get these people on the show. And when I say these people, these icons on this little show. Maybe one day we'll get it. We've had Bob Gale on, which is like probably him and Chris Lloyd, Leah Thompson, Crispin Glover. I could have never imagined in a million years talking to these people. And it's great. But I'm going to go ahead, and we're going to play my interview with Eli Roth from the collection here on Back to the Future, the podcast. Again, I'm your friend in time, Brad Gilmore. We'll see you again in the future, and enjoy this episode.
If you or a family member have been hurt because of the careless actions of another person, call Walker Texas Lawyer. They'll work to get you the financial compensation and justice you deserve. They have 40 years of experience, and you don't pay unless you win. Call 713-881-9653 today for a consultation, or go to walkertexaslawyer.com.
Oh, Brad, what have you done now?
Broadcasting live from Houston, Texas, and around the world. TV host, best-selling author, and radio personality Brad Gilmore brings you a collection of conversations with stars from movies.
Matthew McConaughey.
Brad Gilmore.
Mark Wahlberg.
Hey, how are you?
The legendary Mr. Christopher Lloyd. Christopher, how are we doing?
Well, I'm doing good. Great introduction.
Television.
Jimmy Fallon joins us this morning. Jimmy, how you doing, my friend?
Good morning. Thank you so much, Brad, for having me. I appreciate this, bud.
Kelly Ripa.
Brad, thank you for having me.
Comedy.
Jay Leno joins us. Jay, how you doing?
Hey, Brad, what's going on?
Chris Tucker is in the building. Chris Tucker, good morning to you.
Hey, Brad. Good morning to you. How are you?
Gabriel Fluffy Iglesias.
Good morning.
Music.
Lola Monroe.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
The legendary frontman of AC/DC, Brian Johnson, joins us right now. Brian, how you doing?
Good morning, Brad. What looking to talk you me funny, lad.
Grammy Award winner Maya joins us.
How are you?
And more. This is The Collection. Now your host, The Boat, Brad Gilmore.
So excited to talk to this guy. I'm such a fan of him. His movie Thanksgiving is now on digital and Blu-ray and DVD. The director himself joins us, Mr. Eli Roth. Eli, good morning to you.
Hi, good morning.
Hey, man, first off, this movie, I know it's out for now. Everyone can see. If they didn't get in the theater, they can get it on digital. They can get it on Blu-ray and DVD. It was such a fun movie. And this is somebody who, I'm not saying that horror isn't my normal bag, if you will, but I do enjoy a nice slasher movie from time to time. And this one kind of hit me on all the feels. It was firing on all cylinders. And I'm sure that's something you've heard a lot about. Has the feedback for Thanksgiving been what you wanted it to be?
Oh, it's incredible. I mean, look, you never, making movies is a faith-based system. You just hope to God it all works out. Like, you never know, what people are going to think. But, I have a pretty good understanding of audiences. And as I just approach it like a fan myself. Like, if I had been waiting all these years to see this movie, and if I had been waiting to see a slasher film based in Thanksgiving, what would I want to see? And, yeah, it's been incredible. Look, you never know. I'm very, very grateful that fans came out to support it and to support new mythology. Right now, it's hard to get a new movie out there. Everyone wants sequels. They want reboots. And, for a studio to take a chance and put the money out there to advertise something new in theaters only, it's pretty wild. And the fans came out and supported it, and I'm forever grateful. And look, now I'm in a situation where it's not only out on Blu-ray, DVD, and digital, it's back in theaters, which I didn't even expect. I thought maybe they'll do a Thanksgiving re-release, but to have it out there already is pretty wild. So, the fan demand was high, and I'm very grateful for it.
Yeah, it's been much more successful, just like it's had legs, and it's continued to, I think, find new viewership. And even though it just came out, you're right, people are attached to this new mythology. And you're right, man, Marvel has dominated, DC has dominated, the remakes have dominated, and that's all well and good. There's a place for that. But I think that to have new movies out there and have new stories and have what a talented cast, especially the young cast. When we talk about Noel and Milo and Addison. Yeah,
it's really great. I mean, I feel very, very lucky. I mean, that's the great thing about a slasher film is you can make that discovery. And Johnny Depp started in Nightmare on Elm Street. When you start with these movies, the great thing is you don't know who's going to live, you don't know who's going to die, and you don't have associations from other things. So we got very lucky. And look, Patrick Dempsey, you're anchoring with these amazing veteran actors: Patrick Dempsey, Gina Gershon, Rick Hoffman, and then you have other actors like Tim Dillon that come in for a part that are so fun. But really, the joy is in finding someone like Annelle Verlaque, who's the lead. You just don't know her. And she's like a young Julia Roberts. I think she's an amazing, amazing actor with such an incredible future ahead of her. Part of the fun is finding someone like Nell, and then pairing her with, Addison Rae, who most people know from social media, but is really, really focused in studying acting and really serious about acting, and is terrific in the film. And then other actors like Milo Manheim, who everybody knows from Disney's Zombies, finally breaking out and doing something R-rated and adult. Is a superb actor. And Tommaso Cinelli and Gabriel Davenport, it's Jenna Warren. It's just a fantastic, fantastic group. I got really lucky, and they were certainly the nicest bunch of kids I've ever worked with. I mean, everyone I've worked with in the past has been great, but this is a really special group. So, and I think audiences responded to it. There's insane amounts of TikToks and social media just about the young cast, and that's the fun of a horror film, is you can bring new faces to the screen and keep innovating.
You're absolutely right. And as much as you launch a new mythology, you're right, this can be the launch of a whole new generation of actors that we're going to see in movies going on forward. I agree with you about Nell, by the way. I saw her in a Disney Plus show called Big Shot, or The Big Shot.
Yeah, Big Shot.
Yeah, and she was fantastic in there as a lead. Just fantastic. Stole every scene she was in.
She's the real deal. I mean, she's a serious trained New York actor. Her father's an acting teacher, is an actor. I mean, she comes from like an acting family. Went to high school performing arts. Like, she's the real deal. And her performance was so grounded and so real. And she is, beautiful like a young Julia Roberts, but she's just got this like incredible natural beauty, almost like she's not aware of it. And that's what it said the way I described her in the script was, this is the most beautiful girl in school who doesn't realize she's the most beautiful. She doesn't realize it yet. She's no idea, awareness of how pretty she is. And she just is just a naturally sweet person and a great actor. So anyone you pair her with, the scene's going to be better. So you put her with Patrick Dempsey. They were so fantastic, and Rick Hoffman, and Tommaso Sinelli and Milo Manheim. I mean, we had a really, really terrific cast. And everybody just went for it. And that was, look, when I'm prepping the actors for the movie, they go, what should we watch? Friday the 13th, My Bloody Valentine? I was like, no. For Nell, I was like, watch Betty Blue with Beatrice Dahl. Watch for the guys, watch Sorcerer by Friedkin. Watch 5 Easy Pieces. And they're like, what? They didn't expect those to be the recommendations to go, but these are great, inspiring performances. You watch Jack Nicholson in 5 Easy Pieces. Look how much he does without saying a word, just the look on his face. And suddenly they're like, oh, yeah, wait, we can put that style. That can be in this movie. I can do that. So it's just sort of opening their minds up to the possibility of what you can do in a slasher film. I was like, the acting doesn't have to be bad. It should be great, but it doesn't have to be overdone. It should just be real. And these kids do not know they're in a horror film. They're not aware of it. They're not making jokes. You just have to play it all. You can have fun and you can do stupid things, but you got to play it real, like this is really happening. So I got very lucky with the cast. I love them. I think they're all going to have, great futures ahead of them.
Oh, I
Especially that Patrick Dempsey kid. He's terrific.
He's got something, man. He's got something. I can't put my finger on it, but he could be.
You should try romantic comedy. It's not horror film.
I think he might be. I think he might thrive in that. When you make slasher movies or horror films, however you want to characterize it, typically, as opposed to a superhero film, the budgets aren't the same, right? You have typically a smaller budget with horror films. But I wanted to ask you, with that smaller budget, does it breed more creativity? Because I feel like if you have limitless money, you just feel like you can do whatever, and when you have constraints, it kind of breeds some more innovative thinking.
Well, more money's more eyeballs, unless you're at the Christopher Nolan level. And then there's still pressure, as soon as you start getting into that level of money, people start going, this has to make that money back, which means it has to appeal to a wide audience, which means you got to kind of cut the edges off. And you can't kind of take those risks that you could. Most of these movies are being made for, some movies are 250 million, 300 million. We're doing ours for 15. So, where you'd have weeks to shoot a scene, you don't have to make any decisions. You can shoot it this way, you can shoot it that way. And I think it's a great luxury to have. But for me, like that opening Black Friday riot, we have 4 nights. The whole thing, from the moment they pull up to the store through the gunshot at the end of the sequence. So it's 2 nights outside in the cars in the parking lot and 2 nights inside for the riot. So you have to plan and make decisions and basically pre-edit the movie in your head, and then you just got to hope it all goes right when you're shooting it. It's this organic process where you're staging it and running people around, and you have stunt people. You don't know if it's going to work. You just have to believe it's going to work and prepare for it. And it was a very complex thing to do, but thankfully it all came together with a lot of planning and a great team around me. So I like it. I like those scenes where sometimes you only have one night to shoot a kill scene. And you're like, I wish I had more time. I should have got more shots. And then other times, all you need is a corn holder in the ears. It's the simplest thing. I shot it in reverse and reversed the footage and stacked it in the ear. It took 7 takes to do it right, but we got it. And then adding the sound effect, it's like you don't need to blow up a planet. You don't need these elaborate giant spaceships. You just need like a crazy idea. And that's the fun of horror, is that the best idea wins.
Oh, man.
It really just does come down to the creativity.
The best idea wins. I love that. Now, a couple last things for you here. Again, we're talking to Eli Roth. You can get Thanksgiving on digital, Blu-ray, DVD, and back in theaters as well, as he pointed out to us. Now, I wanted to ask you this, Eli. This kind of concept came from a trailer that was shot for The Grindhouse all those years ago with Quentin Tarantino, Robert Rodriguez. More so than did you ever think this would come to fruition, what did you learn by continually working with greats like those two that kind of impacted your own directing style?
Well, it's a great question. First, the idea for this was Jeff Rendell. We were 12 years old when we came up with the idea of doing a Thanksgiving slasher film. And it was just because we were in Massachusetts watching every other holiday get done, thinking, when are they going to do Thanksgiving? Why not Thanksgiving? So it really was kind of out of necessity. And then when Quentin and Robert asked me if I wanted to do a fake trailer, I was like, of course I got it. It's Thanksgiving. We kind of already had it written. So in terms of what I learned from those guys, Robert, his difference, he taught kind of the relationship with art and fear and creativity and the importance of, momentum and not overthinking things and just like you have an idea, you write it, you do it. You don't stop. Don't let fear paralyze you. That was a really, really great lesson I learned from Robert. And from Quentin, it's he really, really, his shots come from you rehearse it with your actors, get it so it's running like a real scene, like a play, and then you start to figure out where the camera goes. The camera moves have to be motivated by the actors, and the actors have to know their backstory, and that every minor character, as he told me, he's like, Mia Wallace doesn't know she's only in the movie for 20 minutes. She thinks she's in the Mia Wallace movie. She thinks she's the star of her film, and that's why the performance is great, and that's how every actor has to be. They have to think that they are the center of the movie, so you have to know who they are, know the backstory, know who their friends are, and have the actor play it that way, and that's how you get it to all feel like a real universe. But he would clear the set, have everyone walk in, rehearse it. Then he brings in his DP, Bob Richardson. They're looking at through the lenses, they're figuring out the camera moves, but it all comes from the actors. And that's one thing I try to do is I go to the location with the actors, we rehearse it, we run it. Would you walk in here? I'd stand here. I'd look at. Once you've got that down, you take the time to really figure that out. Everything goes fast.
Oh, man, I love that answer. And Eli, I'm running out of time with you, but I have about 30, 40 seconds left, and I have to ask you this because your movie, House with a Clock in Its Walls, love that one as well. But what I wanted to point out about that is when I saw the trailer, I looked at the marquee on that movie theater, and it said Spaceman from Pluto. That spoke to me. I knew exactly what it was in reference to, the Back to the Future original title. Why did you want to throw that Easter egg in, and how big of a Back to the Future fan are you?
I love Back to the Future, and I also loved, I was making a movie for Amblin.
Right.
So I did that for Spielberg. I wanted him to see it, doing the movie for his company. And it felt right. It felt right, for the time period of the movie. But yeah, Back to the Future is just one of those classics, and I loved the fake title. I loved the idea that they did it under a fake title, and I just love the lore of that, and I wanted to, just give a little nod out to the greats, especially a movie that takes place in that time period.
Made a lot of sense, man. Well, again, Thanksgiving out, digital, Blu-ray, DVD, back in theaters. Eli Roth, the director. Congrats on the movie's success, man, and we can't wait for the sequel.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Working on it now.
Have a good one, Eli. Eli Roth, everyone.